Good morning and welcome to group coaching February 26, 2020. How are you, Stephanie?
I am doing really good. Yeah. Getting over a miserable flu.
Uh-huh.
But just got a little cough residual left, and that's about it. Otherwise, really good.
I just need to check one thing here. Okay, sorry for the delay.
That's okay. I'm just reading over my notes from last time we met.
What challenges have you been running into?
um, what challenges have I been running into? You know, I'm having a hard time thinking about them because I don't like to perseverate on them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure I have many, but
Well, let's go through.
I think procrastination is definitely one of them.
Okay. And what do you think is creating that?
Fear.
Obviously.
Yeah.
As the old saying goes, I'm going to stop procrastinating tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
David? Uh-huh.
Hey.
What is the fear?
Well, it's not like this big, ugly fear. It's just,
Wait, in what areas are you procrastinating?
Work.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figured
work.
that. But
Yeah.
what specific areas? What specifically have you not done that you think you should have done?
Well, I have to do some recordings for my clients. And granted, I've been hacking and coughing. So I did email them and told them that I, have this terrible cough, and as soon as it dissipates, I'll get the recordings to them. But before that, I still procrastinated on those recordings.
And what
the
are
stuff that I need to do.
what are the recordings? Are these hypnosis recordings?
Yeah. Yep.
For
Yep.
the specific client?
Just to have done so that, like, when I work with a client who is having sleep problems, I give them a support recording for the sleep. It's general. So I need to just make it and have it there so I can just send it off and not have to take the time. I have a procrastination recording that I need to do. I'm not kidding. And it's been 3 months and I still haven't gotten it done. And it's my clients like that kind of stuff, so I need to get it done.
Uh-huh.
And part of it was equipment challenges and whatnot, but Koji set me up with a really great program. It's one he uses. It's very technical.
Which program is it?
It's Final Cut Pro. It's for videos and for recordings.
Mm-hmm.
And I invested in it. I mean, it was a $400 software thing that I didn't have to buy, but I wanted to because it's so professional. And there's going to be other programs that I'm doing that I want to make it kind of evergreen, put it on my website to just sell. And there's no reason why I shouldn't have gotten this done yet, but I'm just not doing it.
Why do you think?
I don't
Take a guess. Hi, David.
I
Hi.
know why. I still feel like, honestly, I still feel like, and I know this isn't true, but the confidence of knowing what I'm doing and putting something out there to give to people, not to give them, to sell it. I still feel like I'm not the professional, but I mean, I've been doing this for 5 years and I help a lot of people and they're very satisfied. But for some reason, it's just like I don't know enough, or I'm not the professional, or I kind of feel like, I mean, that's kind of the way it is. I don't know why I feel this way.
How do you feel? That you're not good enough?
Yeah, I mean, part of that, yeah, absolutely. But there's a huge part of me, like 90% of me feels like I do really good work and I help a lot of people and I'm very professional and, you know, I can do this. I can help people and it works because I see the results.
Mm-hmm. And how many of these recordings do you want to get done?
Well,
I'm going to grab something real quick.
okay. I mean, there's support recordings for people. Like I have a gal that I've been seeing for almost a year, just because she really likes coming. She feels good about it, and she's an athlete, and she works with horses. And I want to give her the best recording that I possibly can, and I haven't done it yet. And it's been, a week and a half. Again, I've been sick with that, but still, I could have got it done yesterday. I didn't. I could have got it done this morning, and I didn't. David?
Is it one of the things is in the life you're born to live for you, it says self-doubt only aggravates self-trust issues.
Mm-hmm.
So they constantly look for ideas that can help them and may become wandering spiritual vagabonds. Alternately, they want nothing to do with crazy spiritual things.
I love crazy spiritual things.
Yeah, but what about putting them out in the world?
I feel like I'm not the expert in that.
Okay, you're not.
Yeah,
But that's okay.
it is. I mean, if I'm saying,
What's an expert to you?
What's an expert?
When you say, I don't feel like I'm an expert.
In the spiritual realm, someone who's studied for years and years and years. I don't know. Someone who's really tapped in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have studied for years, but not as a full-time thing. I mean, I feel like I am an expert in a lot of fields with hypnosis, but in the spiritual realm, I have so much to learn.
Mm-hmm. So the 4 in your life lessons is about stability and process.
Hmm.
Hmm? There's our answer.
Yeah.
One said a lot. How do you experience this, David? You're a 4.
Well, um, I certainly experience this general feeling of not being good enough. It's something that comes up, and I
Uh-huh.
talk it down, and then it comes up, and I talk it down. And actually, I had breakfast with 2 friends on Sunday, and we had a very good intimate conversation, and one this topic came up, and one of my other friends said that that he thought that this was universal, that there isn't anyone who doesn't have some degree of experience of I'm not good enough. So I definitely experience it, and it's it seems to come up from a place which is not rational. It doesn't need to be justified by the circumstances, and the fact that it comes up doesn't mean that it's justified. It seems to be part of the human condition, um, independent of making any sense, or whether it's warranted. It seems to be a sort of a free floating feeling
Mm-hmm.
that just pops up for a great wide variety of people, perhaps everyone, and in a great wide variety of circumstances and times, and it doesn't make sense, and it isn't saying something relevant to the situation in which it's in which it's coming up. It's sort of its own free floating thing, I think.
I agree with you. It doesn't make sense. I mean, I work with people that's part of the reason why they're coming to see me. So I know, I mean, everybody does have it, but I feel like I should be able to manage it and work through it very quickly, because that's what I teach people. It's like, but I still have it.
Well, your our calling to help others brings on more responsibility, and as
Yeah.
you work with it, can create a greater intensity in these feelings. I experience it too, and not being good enough um, is something that I developed. For me, it came from not understanding life, not uh, not being able to be myself when I was a child, in conflict with family values, life, everything in general, just because it didn't make sense to me. Um, and consequently made a choice to hide it. And that's how I started seeking acceptance outside of myself for decades. Um, I still have it now, although I know that it isn't true. I think that procrastination is something else that, you know, that we all deal with, that comes from different areas. You know, how about you, David? What in the area of procrastination?
Well, I mean, procrastination is something that all of us have a bottomless to-do list and only limited time in the day. So the fact that it's time to go to bed now and there's still things undone on the to-do list, that's just
Part of life.
That's just part of life, and it's easy for that bare circumstance, the to-do list isn't empty, to prompt feelings of procrastination. But I don't think that's legitimate. But certainly to say, oh, there's this thing I've decided to do, it's important to me, I've decided to get this done today, and I have time to do it today, I've scheduled it today, and then that doesn't get done and other frittery stuff does get done, so that now I can look back on the day and, okay, so there's a clear specific instance where you can say there was procrastination, and then perhaps there's a specific doubt or dislike or point of resistance or exposure around this one specific thing that was prioritized, scheduled, and then not done. So I guess I've just sort of made a distinction about this easy trap to fall into around a general feeling, oh, I must be a procrastinator if I don't get everything done all the time, which I think is not accurate. And then if you can pinpoint to a specific instance, a specific task, then that's what I guess I feel is real procrastination. I just want to throw in to the discussion before I forget about it. It seems to me to be relevant to this broader not good enough thing. I've lately been attending a church on Sunday mornings, the Unitarian Universalists, who are very non-doctrinaire, and I like that. And a talk was given about broadly about feeling not good enough or not being enough. And the UU, the Unitarian Universalists, they call themselves the UU, so you don't have to keep saying Unitarian Universalist all the time. The UU minister had an interesting take on it, and the talk was more supportive than it might sound from the sentence or two I'm about to say. He said, yeah, you aren't enough. You aren't enough to deal with everything going on. And a replay will be available on YouTube, and I'd like to find it and look at it, because I had a sort of a positive and soothed feeling as I was listening to this, while I was still trying to sort of grapple with the concept. And he may have been driving towards ask for help, and we all need to work together and help each other. And if we think we have to take on the whole world all by ourselves, we may be missing opportunities for cooperation, and at the same time stimulating this feeling, I'm not good enough. anyways, it was a different perspective on it than I have ever heard. Especially, there were a couple of dramatic times where he, very pointedly and emphatically said, "Well, you're not. You aren't enough to you aren't enough to deal with everything that's going on." And I think, like including like climate change issues and so on and so forth, big picture things. Anyways, I just want to mention that I've recently been exposed to this different take on that topic.
What's your feeling on that?
Well, I felt good and comfortable while I was listening to the sermon, and felt, oh, I'm glad I'm hearing this. And I also don't feel that I've fully and completely understood it. And I do want to find the replay on YouTube and listen to it again, and identify what was it that I felt comfortable about specifically.
What's your take on that, Stephanie?
While David was talking, I was thinking back when I was little. I don't even know where I got this from, but I always thought that, my bed had to be made perfect. I had to look, my clothes needed to match. I mean, I'm talking little, like 7, 8 years old, my clothes had to match. I had to do well in school. Everything had to be perfect. And I could never get it that way. So somewhere along the line, somewhere, I don't know where, around, along that was that, I wasn't going to be good enough to be perfect. But then and even, with my kids growing up and stuff, I wanted my house to always be spotless, and that was exhausting. But I did it until I had a health crisis. I got breast cancer and had to go through chemotherapy and surgeries and stuff. And it stressed me out at the beginning, not to have everything exactly the way it should be, that I thought it should be. And going through that was a big eye opener, because I couldn't do it. I just physically and mentally couldn't do it. And so when I got through all of that, and it's a year later and I'm getting my energy back and everything else, I just didn't care. I just thought, is this really that important? Should I stress over this? It was a huge lesson. It really was. But there's still little pieces that haven't let go.
Like what?
Well, like, I mean, I've always been an employee until, 8 or 9 years ago. And learning how to run a business, learning how to, everything. And we've all, Bill, you know this too. David, I don't know if you're an entrepreneur or what, but, it's a different animal, and you have a lot to learn. And, I've taken trainings and classes to learn all this stuff, because I know I don't know it. And that's why I'm here with you, Bill, is because I don't know everything. But at the same time, I feel like I should know most everything, but I don't. So I'm hard on myself that way still. Though that's those little pieces that are still left over, that I just want to, I love what I do, but I just want to enjoy it more and not be so worried and not really stressed, because I know eventually I'm going to get there. And I know that the really cool thing about being an entrepreneur is nobody's looking over you saying, oh, you didn't do that right, you didn't do that, So I'm not going to get fired. But there's still that doubt in certain aspects of the business part. Not what I do with people, not the one-on-one. And I know I'm not perfect with that either, but But, you know, I'm okay with that because it's life, and relationships and everything else can be messy and not perfect. But
Well, they are messy
this
and
is
not
hard.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I really like what the minister said, David. I think that's 100% accurate. And the reason is because we're here to learn lessons. So if you're here to learn lessons, there's areas, and that's the whole purpose of this coaching, is to look at the areas that are blind spots for you, that create the discomfort, that are blocking you, standing in the way, and holding you back, and finding a resolution that takes you away from it so that you can create the energy that you're here to create and do the work that you're supposed to do. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense to me.
Do you
Yes.
agree with it?
Yes.
I'm
You're
lately on this.
challenged?
No. But I'm lately on this program of not seeking truth and not holding beliefs, but trying strategies. Like, this is how I conceive of what I am doing. So I'm going to answer your saying, the question you asked me is, do I believe it? I'm going to change the question to, does this sound like a sound strategy? And my answer to that is yes. Yes, it does. This seems like an approach to life, likely to be rewarding, and I'm willing to employ it as a strategy and monitor the results.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just different from, do you believe it, which is sort of like a true false. I'm trying to move away from true false to evaluating strategies and their effects.
And what benefit would that strategy have then?
At this point, my mind is slipping on is slipping on just what strategy we're talking about.
The strategy we're talking about is that we've come here to learn lessons. Consequently, it will always maintain the appearance that we aren't good enough.
And so, like, adopting that as a perspective and strategy, I immediately get a sense of benefit of, it's a hell of a lot better than the perspective and strategy, I'm here to be perfect in everything all the time, and I deserve to be horsewhipped if I ever don't.
Yeah, that's not a strategy that's supportive.
Right, and it's a strategy that's very common, and with a lot of like support in the culture. It's
I have no issue in saying that it's true, because is there any question in your mind that we're here to learn lessons and heal our soul?
No.
Seems very solid.
Has that been your experience?
I can understand my life that way, yes.
Mm-hmm. It fits your life.
Yes.
It fits your experience.
Yes.
An experience that you know to be true.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, because this is really the essence of the coaching that I do, is no, we aren't good enough. If you were good enough, what would it look like? What is good enough? Let's go the other way with it.
Yeah. Well, right. You immediately draw this absurd picture of everything working out perfectly, me accomplishing 1,000 things every day, all accomplished perfectly, and so on. That just
And maybe
doesn't
that is
conform to life on this planet.
maybe that isn't good enough, because that's all about doing instead of being.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And being is far more important than doing. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Being is far more important than doing. So in David's case, where he talks about, oh, I get all of these things done and everything looks wonderful and it's great, I would vehemently disagree with that.
Right.
Because I would go to a guru who is a breatharian that sits in meditation 24 hours a day, connected with all that is, detached from the physical limitations and madness. How does that compare with getting a bunch of things done, David? How would you and you're a meditation teacher, so we should be able to get some valuable insights from you.
Well, they're obviously quite different, and you've pointed out that my first answer was all in the realm of doing. So
It's all in the physical realm.
Yes. So the couple of sentences I said there were incomplete, but also your description of the 24-hour meditator calls to mind a phrase from I forget which of my my reading, where something like you can become so isolated in your spiritual castle that you become of no earthly use.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But again, that's judging it from the physical.
Mm-hmm.
See, what are you thinking, Stephanie?
Well, he just had an aha moment, I think. But the whole time you were telling me about being someone 24 hours a day meditating, my first thought was, ooh, that doesn't sound like very much fun. And then instantly I changed it to, oh, he's in the spiritual realm contributing his energy, and he is doing something. And then my next thought was, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. Just being, as long as you're, not just being a couch potato watching TV being, but actually contributing the energy to the universe.
Yeah, well,
And
being a couch potato isn't being, it would be doing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Right. So what was it that Stephanie noticed, David?
Oh no, she saw. I did a visual thing that she saw as a aha, with the aha being that I now feel that I don't fully understand this phrase about you can spend so much time in your spiritual castle that you become of no earthly use.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I understood that previously, and now I feel I'm not sure that I understand.
Good. This is good.
Getting at.
So let's look at it. Let's look at our beliefs around spirituality. with life, we know some things for certain about life, right? Right?
We know some things for certain.
What are some of the things you know for certain, David?
I know for certain that my body will stop functioning
Mm-hmm.
if I don't feed it and water it and keep it breathing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How would you describe that? I mean, you kind of described it, but what would we call that? The need for
Well,
survival?
that's basic physical survival of the body.
Okay. Anything else you know for certain about life?
That I experience both a physical body and consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
and that I
And
have
when you say consciousness, what does that mean? It's kind of a general description.
the
Are you
entirety.
referring to the ability to rise above the physical through meditation when you say consciousness?
That would be included in it.
Yeah.
What I mean by what I'm meaning now when I say I experience a body and I experience consciousness. In that context, I mean the word consciousness to mean everything, the whole ball of wax of being aware of my experience, including just being aware of mundane physical experience and being aware of my inner self, being that part of being aware that's purely egoic and about an individual, and the part that is beyond that, including any sense of a soul that I may have, and including any sense of there ultimately being a one single unitary consciousness. I mean all of that
Okay.
by consciousness.
How about you, Stephanie?
I agree with David. I know for certain we're all energy.
How do you know that for certain?
Science, and I just know.
Mm-hmm.
I just believe it. I believe it. And I know science can change because they find out new things and everything, but
Yeah, I it's is there everything in the universe operates on a vibration,
and a
right?
frequency. Yep.
You agree with that, David?
I think it's highly likely. I don't actually know that everything does. For example, I don't know what's inside a black hole. So I have this part of my intellect that says,
Right.
I don't know
But
what
we have to, again, you see, this is and keep in mind that this whole conversation and discussion is coming around from not being good enough. Right? So we don't know everything. Everybody in
for
agreement on
sure.
that?
Yeah,
I for sure know that I don't know everything. I am absolutely certain that I don't know everything.
that is for certain.
That's right.
Yeah.
The I think on the basic premise, some assumptions need to be made. Because if we don't know everything, then it would seem to me that we have to speak from the realm of there's so much more to learn. In agreement with that?
Yes.
Sure.
My experience, well, one thing I know for certain is that we have a beginning and an end in the physical, right?
You mean birth and death of the physical body?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And
Can you just repeat what just was said? I'm sorry.
that's
Someone
okay.
walked in and I didn't hear.
Yeah. Um, what we do know is that there's a beginning and end to our life.
Hmm.
What we don't know is what preceded it and what follows it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, I'm glad.
However, and this is the whole purpose for the work that I do. This is a fascinating conversation and one that would be considered, in my opinion, quite a high level, because it's important to ground our insignificance.
Mm. To be no one and nobody.
Well,
And to be
certainly any one human physical body is quite insignificant in the big picture.
right, right,
I mean, there's 7 billion of them currently, let alone historically and futurely.
right. So is it safe to say that that's our foundation in the physical?
Can you explain that a little bit more, that question? Because I'm not sure. I'm like, well, what does that mean?
That ultimately, in the physical, we're insignificant. In the overall view.
Yeah. Yes.
You in agreement with that, David?
Yeah. Yes.
That being the case, what would you see as your position in life with that as the basis?
If 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 that's all you thought your position was,
That's not what we said. I didn't say that's all we think our position is. I said it is a fact that in the overall scheme of things, we are insignificant. Doesn't mean it's our position. It means it's truly, in an overall perspective, the foundation from which we experience life.
Well, from which we should experience life.
Yes. Yes.
And when we're in that thought process of I'm not good enough, we're not in that overall experience.
That's correct.
Wow.
Talk more about that, Stephanie. You just had a big aha.
I did. I mean, because when you feel, for me, when I feel like I'm not good enough, it's not a private thing. And when I mean private, it means I'm thinking about outside of me
Mhm.
what other people are thinking about me. And if I'm believing that in the physical I'm insignificant, then I shouldn't even feel I'm not good enough.
I like that. What do you think, David?
Um, well, I think like there's a tie-in to what this minister was saying, and it's a seeing that if our physical selves are insignificant in the physical universe, and they certainly are, then for me to attack myself for being not good enough is wildly unreasonable. That if the fact is my physical self is physically insignificant in the physical universe, then this whole good enough notion is just off base. And attacking myself around this idea of being not good enough is not only poor strategy, but which it clearly it's a very poor strategy, but also it's just out of step with physical reality. The physical reality is any one human being is insignificant. Then why would I or anyone else sensibly try to measure myself or anyone else against this standard good enough when the reality is insignificant?
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Stephanie?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And then I was just thinking too, if you flip that, and as a human being in the physical and judging others, even though I try not to, it happens.
Sure.
And if you flip that to that judgment, that's absolutely irrelevant. And David, when you said it, the strategy just doesn't match. It's almost just ludicrous that we're even thinking that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of insane and ludicrous, because we know, you and I, Bill, you know, that in the physical, we are insignificant.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't we taught this when we're little? So we don't have to go through life. And I know we have lessons, but it's like, you know?
So we're all in agreement on that. Is that correct?
Seems to be.
It would be a yes or no. I want a commitment, David.
I would say yes until we learn more. Till it changes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So in this moment, yes. Until I'm shown, taught,
we gain some awareness
yeah,
that unequivocally demonstrates that is not true. It's okay to assume it at this point. I'm good with that. You good with that, David?
I'm good with using this as the current strategy. Yes.
So, do we live in two different realities? One being controlled by our mind and logic, and the other one being energetic and tapping into a universal knowledge base that exists somewhere. Let me say it a different way. Have you ever had the experience where you've tapped into a universal?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. David, have you?
Well, I think so. I've had what have felt to be mystical experiences, particularly on meditation retreats where information arrived, and my sense is that it arrived from
Nowhere.
some greater pool of knowledge than my individual self.
Another way to say that was you gained awareness that was not based on a physical experience.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Sure. Yeah.
So there's something else out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my experience. That's the thing, when you look at something as simple as Dan Millman's book, The Life You're Born to Live, with lessons based on our birth dates that are pretty profoundly accurate, it tells me there's something greater out there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That does create a greater sense of awareness for the physical experience. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
That in and of itself, for me, is proof enough of greater wisdom. I can stand in front of a room full of people and do life purpose readings based on their birth date, and people are in awe, using nothing but their date of birth. Pretty wild, huh? Any comment on that? Are we frozen?
No.
Okay.
We're
No.
all
Yeah.
in deep
Well,
thought.
Yeah.
We're all in deep thought.
we don't have a technical internet problem.
We were frozen.
We were frozen.
Is it also true that if you ask a question of your intellect and also ask a question of your heart, that you get two different answers?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because one's physical and one is not.
Right.
And there are times when you do get the same answer, but yeah, but you can definitely get two different answers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And which one would you deem to be the most reliable and the safest?
The heart.
David?
I'm in the process of learning to trust my heart more.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
I mean, just for me, I think of it as practice.
Mm-hmm. So this is the best we've got. There is no answer, right? Other than looking at, let's talk about our divine gifts, this gift that I've been given to show a person their divine gifts. Done totally on trust. Completely. I go get the information and give it to people. And have never had anyone that wasn't just blown away. Yourself included, David.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. I had, just as you're asking about it, I had a very strong emotional reaction to receiving your report of my divine gifts.
I remember.
Because it clearly expressed what I wished were true. When I heard it, I had a very strong emotional reaction. Mm-hmm. I wish this were true. And so.
But let's take it beyond your head. It also resonated with your heart.
Oh, when I that's actually what I meant.
Right.
When I said
it literally brought tears to your eyes.
Yeah, when I said wished, I was meaning emotionally driven, like, yeah. The feeling of wanting it and liking it.
You have any comment on that, Stephanie?
Well, I'm literally just looking at, I printed out my divine gifts and I have them in a little clear folder, and I was just looking at those while you were talking about David's, because I was thinking, did I feel that way? And I'm looking at them going, honestly, I felt like when I first read it that those powers, some of them I weren't aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't feel that I had them in me. But when I'm looking at it now and the divine healing and love, I'm like going, yep. And 3 months ago, I don't think I could have done that.
Right.
I really don't think I could have. So.
And are these in the physical or non-physical?
Well, it was in the physical because I was just learning about the non-physical.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in it, but I didn't know what to call it. And I didn't know, so just the awareness now is there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely there. And I'm very, I should say I recognize when I'm in the physical.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes it might take, it's not in that moment. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it might be a day or two later. I'm like, I'm in the physical. Okay, let's change this,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
And then what do you do when you change it?
What do? I change the energy.
Ah.
Yeah. And the whole belief system around it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's first I change the energy and the belief system follows. So yeah. I feel like I'm getting there, but
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever be there.
yeah, I'm just more aware and I'm getting there. But I still know I have blind spots.
Oh, sure, we all do.
You know,
Mhm.
I know that. And being aware, sometimes I'm totally aware of them and sometimes you point them out. You can't see them.
Yeah.
And can I ask a question for my understanding?
Mm-hmm.
Steph, when you say you change the energy,
Hmm.
could I ask you to say that using different words? Because I'm actually not sure what.
Okay. So I have a belief system or a thought about something.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I can feel it. Does that thought feel like it's in the physical? Does it feel, and I'll just use some words, does it feel right? Does it feel icky? Does it feel good? Does it
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm pushing it? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make it happen?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. Does that help
Yeah.
you understand that more? And so then when I'm not in the physical, I'm letting it just flow. I'm leaving it up to the universe to take care of it. I know I'm taking the actions necessary, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to keep thinking about it. I'm going to put it out there and let it take care of itself because it's flowing to me. That's the way I think. That's the way my brain works and how I process it and everything.
That's because you have divine power,
Yeah.
which is choice.
Yeah. So
You're
it is
making
a
you're
choice.
making the choice to put it very simply, go with the flow.
Yeah. Just let it go. Because I can't, I could control it, but it wouldn't turn out the way it needs to turn out.
Right.
Because I'm in the physical trying to control everything. And that there's the blocks, there's the walls, you know, there's the challenges, that's the problem. I don't want to deal with that. So I'm learning.
Well, when you say you don't want to deal with it, is it because you don't like it or because of past experience?
Well, because of past experience, because I know what it feels like. It doesn't feel good. And so,
Right.
and the outcome doesn't come out the way it should because I forced
Right.
it.
Yep.
So if I let it go and allow the flow, and I know that just sounds kind of, I don't
Woo
know,
woo.
but allow the energy to flow and allow
Mm-hmm.
it to go where it needs to go and come back to me in a loving, genuine, um,
Manifestation.
yeah, yeah, then it's gold. It's beautiful and it feels really good.
So what I heard you say was when you make that choice to go with the feelings, to go with what you know to be true in your heart at that time, that you stay out of the physical results and bring that energy into the physical to allow it to manifest in the way that it can best serve.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
I would 100%. And to one thing to add to that, and I really like what you said, to allow it to manifest in the way that is in the best good. Those weren't your exact words, but and not have a
Man,
attachment to
it
outcome.
manifests in a manner that it's of the greatest benefit to all involved.
Right. The greatest good. Yeah. I like the
Right.
way you said that, because if you have
We
an
can call it
attachment
good.
to the outcome,
I like, I don't think good or benefit really matters. Um, I think benefit's a little bit more grounding and easier to understand, um, but either way is fine with me.
yeah.
How
So
are
Dave,
you? Go ahead, Stephanie.
well, and the other thing I was just going to add is, and you said that you want it to be the greatest benefit to all, so you can't have an attachment to the outcome,
That's correct.
and you
Can't
have to
have an
sacrifice it
attachment
and let it go.
to what it's going to look like in the physical,
Yeah.
which can be extremely challenging. It's actually been literally was the destruction of me in the past. And when you're around people who are controlling, it typically isn't going to be a pleasant experience.
No, it doesn't feel good at all.
You agree with that, David?
Yes, yes.
Did I answer your question, David?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Wanted to make sure I
Yeah,
answered.
I just really wanted you to say different words,
Yeah.
to give me a chance to intake different words. That's all.
Yeah.
And you did, and thank you.
Okay.
Is there any doubt on either of your part that this energy can transform the physical?
No doubt at all.
David?
Um, uh, I might not know that with certainty.
You've not experienced that?
Um, when you say this energy, those,
Your divinity. When I say this energy. Because
I know that.
I've got to tell you, when I came up with this, as I came up with it, the first question that came to mind was, how in the hell, how did I put it? Like when I heard about these divine gifts, the moment I heard about them, it ignited something that I can only attribute to the fact that I have direct access to this information and knew all about them out of nowhere. To the point that I stopped everything else I was doing in my life to focus on these. I remember the experience I had in the first few days, and the visualization that I had was literally a gold crown going on people's heads, because this is the crowning achievement in physical form. I don't have your divine gifts in front of me, David, for some reason.
Nor do I have them right in front of me in printed form. But
I remember self-expression,
Order is my highest, largest gift.
Mm-hmm.
Authenticity and self-expression is my second,
Right.
and third is creation.
Creation. Yeah. I knew it was those three. So it's, what has your experience been in the physical since your realization of those, David?
I don't know that I understand the question.
What has been your experience in working with them and having that awareness? You certainly identified with them when you read them.
Yeah, especially the authenticity and self-expression.
Mm-hmm.
The some of the specific statements of that one just had me, feeling a very strong gladness of hearing myself described in this way, along with a like hopefulness that it were true. And since you ask, what has my experience been in the physical? Well, I have published a book
Mm-hmm.
since,
Yeah.
which is an example of authenticity and self-expression.
And divine order. You've actually lived, I believe, with some pretty strong effects of divine order in your life. You actually, use that almost to protect yourself when you were working.
I'm not sure I know specifically what you're referring to.
Putting out documents in an orderly fashion that would be acceptable by everybody.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you have the creation piece, which is where you love to hang out. Knowing that there's more, in search of more, in creating more, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah.
So I can only share what my experience has been in working with people with these. Yesterday I did an empowerment consultation for somebody, and she was just like, this is amazing. This just puts the pieces together for me. Without any knowledge of her life lessons. We haven't even talked about that. And as I describe these to people, Stephanie, I'm guessing that you would agree with this. This is what we breathe.
Yeah.
The other thing that's fascinating about these is if you carefully scrutinize the life you were born to live, you will see the reverse side of them in your lessons.
You mean the dysfunctional power of it?
Where how Well, let me give you an example. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's really all we need to do, Stephanie, is look at working in the positive as a 34/7. Here's what it says. I just want you to listen to this. Okay. I'm going to read it. I want you to listen to it.
Okay.
When you're across all of your life lessons, when you're on the other side of them, in the positive, you are strong, practical, physical, and spiritual, and you have learned to trust the mystery and wisdom of life working through you and everyone else. These free thinkers trust in the process of their life, including the ups and downs, the difficulties and joy. Meditation, which quiets their mind, brings a sense of harmony and peace as a regular part of their life. Combining worldly interest with commitment toward inner growth. These individuals dedicate their work, their relationships, and activity to growth and awakening. They share their insightful nature based on direct experience and feeling connected to spirit, even while pursuing the practical concerns of everyday life. Like, that totally describes you. Would you agree?
Yes, I would.
So you have divine healing, which is the wisdom of life working through you, right?
Can you say that again? The wisdom of what?
Of life working through you. It's just who you are. You have divine power, which is making the choice to share your insightful nature based on your direct experience.
Yeah.
While connected to spirit. And
Yes.
then you have divine order, which means harmony and balance and beauty are important and support you in life. Right?
Yeah. It also says perfection and peace.
Yeah.
I have to laugh at that perfection. Only because, I always thought of it as a negative thing.
Yeah.
For
Well,
me, and it shouldn't.
It would be taken to the negative when you apply it focusing on the physical.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for that.
Do you see how that works?
Yes, I do now. Yeah.
Yeah. Where when it's just the energy, so this is the energy of who you are. And when you bring that energy into everything that you do, then you are able to be there, to be present, to be contributing, and knowing that you're making an energetic difference. What are your thoughts on that, David? I'm going to do yours next.
I'm not sure, or I'm a little bit lost just at this moment.
What we're talking about is when you look at your life lessons, how they're tied into your divine gifts.
Uh-huh.
So on the positive side of your life lessons, David, the 31-4, these individuals have developed a sound financial base as well as personal base of family, friends, and associates. They make decisions by blending head, analysis, and heart, intuition, and they have learned to trust the process of their life. Now, you certainly are doing that, right?
Moving towards it.
Oh, I think you're there.
You think I trust the process of my life?
I think you trust the process of your life, but you're in search of more knowledge.
Well, I'm certainly I feel myself to be working on.
Yeah. Well, we're always
trusting
working
the
on
process of my life. Yeah.
Well, but I'm comparing this to what it would look like in the negative.
Right.
And in the negative, there would be no trust.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Well-rounded achievers, they have followed goals to completion as they have learned skills, and they use that understanding to reach any goal. Dependable and stable, they have the blend of strength, flexibility, sensitivity, and creative sparkle that serves as a source of practical support and encouragement to others. Which, when we look at that, dependable and stable certainly is reflective of divine order. Have strength, flexibility, sensitivity, and a creative that serves as a source of practical support and encouragement for others. This is where authentic self-expression comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And the creation would come in through the blending of head and heart. And always being in the process. Like for you, that's good. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So Stephanie, let's talk for a moment about your aha.
The perfection in the physical. Yeah, that was huge for me.
In what way?
Just the thought of quit thinking about it, quit worrying about it, quit being in the physical with it.
Yeah.
You know, just let it go and let whatever's supposed to happen, give it up and just allow it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and one of the things you said about David is he's always in the process of it. I think we all are. And
yes, but the difference is David's in the intellectual process.
right.
You notice how intellectual he is.
Yes.
How he's always has a tendency, he wants to take care of his head, so to speak. While still the heart is there, but for David and after decades as an attorney in a law firm doing the work that he was doing, right? It's very process logically piecing things together,
Hmm.
and it fits. Would you agree with that, David?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
Hmm.
There can't.
You're, in fact, the 31-4, the 4, David, is about, what I like to do is go back and look at these very simply, because when you look at them simply, they really make sense. So for David, he's a 31-4. The 3 is sensitivity and expression. And this is something where you've made major strides. Would you agree, David,
Yes. Yes, I would.
with that awareness?
Yes.
The 1 is about creativity and confidence. Your intellectual tendencies would raise more lessons for you in that creativity and confidence area without total, complete trust in who you are.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the 4 is about stability and process, and everything that you're saying is, I'm looking for more stability with this,
Yes.
and using strategies to create my process.
Hmm.
Would you agree?
Yes.
Do you see how that plays in?
Hmm.
And Stephanie, for you, you too have a 3, which is sensitivity and expression. For you, you know, the expression comes, in your case, where you were probably underexpressed before. Is that correct?
Well, that's what you told me. So
Would you?
yeah, no, I would agree because, yeah, because I would not. I mean, there are things I just knew or downloaded or whatever, and just would not express it. Just
Why did you leave where you were at and go into business for yourself?
you broke up for a second. Why did I leave where I was at for what?
Why did you leave a job or a career and go into business for yourself?
Well, because I wanted to serve people in a different way.
You were underexpressed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't work for me. I can't be me here,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
The 4 in the 34-7, again, is stability and process, just like David. So people with a 4 in that stability, I refer to them, I don't know, I'm sure I've said this to you, David, but it's like walking on a dock that has barrels under it. We've all done that, where you walk and the dock goes from side to side, right? So when you get there is when you start questioning yourself. When the stability, it would be when you question yourself, it's because you're not feeling stable, Stephanie, which means you don't feel safe. And then the 7 is totally about faith and openness. Why are you smiling?
Because I think this year I finally figured out that I always thought of myself as a very private person, and going out and just the growth that I've done with the speaking and everything else, I never wanted to tell my story because I thought, it's whining or I'm not perfect. And I realized that my story is going to resonate with people, and my
Mhm.
journey is going to resonate with people and move them.
And
And
has it?
yeah, yeah, it has. I still feel like I have a lot to improve on,
Of course.
but yeah.
We all do. Like right now, I'm in the midst, I've jumped out into the void and I'm in the midst of all kinds of challenges. And the only guideposts that I can use are based on how I feel and the choices I make to move towards what I know to be true for my calling and trust the process. And
Because
like
it's
right now, I'm way out there, quite uncomfortable. But it's who I am. I'd actually made some notes about that this morning. Is this making sense, David?
Yes, and excuse me, I've just sort of got something that it feels simultaneously it feels clear, and simultaneously I'm not sure that I understand it. But anyways, um, with stability being about feeling safe, in these past few minutes, I was just writing down, if I want to feel safe, I'll never be able to get that by trying to manipulate physical circumstances and job or money or anything. If I want to feel safe, I have to feel it. That will come from feeling. To feel safe, I have to feel safe. And this end run of, if I arrange circumstances just so, if I accumulate some pile of money, then I'll feel safe. That's actually not the case.
No.
That I'll only, the only way I'll be able to generate feeling safe is by focusing on feeling.
And what would feeling safe feel like?
Well, the first thing that comes up is an opposite, not worried, which would be related to trusting.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly throughout my life, I've spent a lot of time worrying and not very much time trusting, certainly not like blanket trust to the universe.
What percentage of your time did you spend worrying?
Well, like with like worry coming and going throughout the day, but like say characterize a day or a week or a month as being more about worry than it was about trust. Virtually all of my segments would be more about worry than about trust.
Right.
I mean, for most of my life, trust was like something that I didn't even understand. Like it just wasn't on my radar.
Your trust was shattered by your father.
And the story I told myself about it.
That's correct. Yeah, that experience. I'm not blaming him. It was the experience that you had. And it played right to the core of the 4 in your life lesson, which is stability.
Mm-hmm.
It
I have
shattered
the
it,
same thing, David.
right?
I
Do you
can
see how
totally
this
relate.
works?
Yeah.
Yeah, and uh, when I use the word safety rather than stability, I feel I understand it a lot better.
Mm, good. Use it.
Yeah, the just um, yeah, and just that when I transpose the word safety for stability, I have the that.
And safety does not necessarily, what does that mean to you, Stephanie? See, I think it'll mean something different to Stephanie.
Yeah. For me, safety means I mean, because of my past and my experiences, safety does have a different meaning to me. I think that for safety, for me, it means I don't know how to put it, not have to worry about my well-being. Um, Knowing that I live in a safe community, knowing that driving down the street, I'm, or walking, I'm safe. That kind of thing. It's
That
physical, but
that's physical. Let's talk about internal.
yeah.
There's a big difference.
Yeah, there is. There really is. That's something that
You
I have
never
to
felt
choose.
you never felt safe choosing your wisdom. You wouldn't trust it. Faith and openness is 7. Trust and openness. Trust requires safety in the unknown.
Hmm. I mean,
It's
safety in the unknown.
it's trusting that what you're doing and the way you work with clients makes them feel safe, and that you're just putting out there what you're getting. You're being open about it.
I am now. Yes.
Right.
A year ago,
Yeah.
I did what I would. A year ago, I had a system, and I did what I was taught. Now, there's there's some guidelines, and they're soft, So yeah,
Yeah.
because
See?
yeah, whatever comes up, I just do it now.
So you're living much more according to your heart.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I'm really paying attention to that feeling
Mm-hmm.
and making choices based off that feeling. I'm not perfect at it. Again, here we go.
You never will be.
No. So I'm okay with that though. If as long as I'm really listening to my heart and making those choices from my heart.
So let's now loop back and talk about not being good enough. Can you see how all of this is supportive of that?
Oh yeah.
You see that, David?
Yeah, there's interrelations everywhere. Yes.
We're never going to be good enough.
In the physical. If you're
We're
in the physical.
right. And that the feeling of not good enough is all based in the physical. But the truth of the matter is, we're in the process of learning these lessons. And it's in the process of learning these lessons that we're going to continually come across challenges and do things. You know, let me give you an example. Something happened to me yesterday that has never happened to me ever. I had a, a person I was speaking to going through their first coaching session, completely connected with her about low self-esteem, all the other things going on in her life. And at the end, told her what I do and how I do it and what I charge for it. And she went off on me. You just did a bait and switch on me. You just, like you've got some fucking nerve to give me this high pressure sales, right? Like it floored me. After I explained to her beyond a shadow of doubt, there is absolutely, positively no possible way that I would ever be in high pressure sales with anybody. That's not my intention. It's not the way I work. This was her experience, right? But nonetheless, it's the first time it ever happened. And I mean, she literally went nuts on me in that respect. Out of nowhere. Like, you aren't giving to, I said, I didn't ask you to sign up for my coaching. I'm just telling you what else is available. That's all. And why I guarantee what I do. But she didn't see it that way. And it was a real punch in the gut to me. It's like, okay, I'm going to take full responsibility for that. And have taken some steps to correct it. In fact, sent her an email this morning because it isn't me. I didn't defend myself. I sent an email of apology. So we are going to be challenged based on other people's physical experiences where they live in the physical. This is somebody with very low self-esteem that's always sabotaging herself, can't keep money, blah, 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 blah. I go on and on, right? A woman who, as I told her, based on the depth of her struggles, is powerful beyond measure and is ultimately just afraid of her power. And so it's going to hang out there. But boy, you know, you talk about not being good enough. I don't take things personally typically, but I took that extremely personally. It made me feel very sad, and taking it to a level of responsibility that I misread this somehow. I mishandled this somehow. That's the only thing I can do. I can't speak to her inadequacies, right? I just have to look at my own. So we've got 15 minutes. How do you think not good enough fits into what we've been discussing this morning?
I think it has everything to do with what we've been discussing this morning.
How? What's your position on it now?
Well, for me, I really feel that I have to make a choice and stay out of the physical when it comes to that. I should be out of the physical with all of this stuff, but
You never
really,
will be.
really make a decision.
A choice.
Oh, yeah, a choice. And knowing that if I'm in the physical, it's going to be a challenge. When I choose to be not in the physical, in the flow of things, it's not even going to be there. There's no representation of it, and it's not going to be there. So changing my belief system around it is crucial.
And what would that change be?
The change would be, for me, the change would be just allowing my lessons and my process and my belief system, allowing it to just be in that flow and not have a expectation
Mm-hmm.
of that. And I mean, okay, let's change that word expectation, because not have, I mean, I want the expectation to be for the good of all, for the benefit of all, which it will be. But
Mm-hmm.
my own expectation of what I think it should be should be insignificant and shouldn't matter.
Okay, David?
I said that very slowly, but I had to think through
Yeah.
it.
Well, the part of our discussion that resonated a lot for me was that in physical terms, we are imperfect, we are insignificant. So for me to attack myself as not good enough around physical terms makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Of course I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
So why attack over it?
Yes. Yeah. You're doing the best you can based on the awareness that you have. And when we come at it from the physical, you'll never be good enough. And why is that? Because other people will let you know. Does that make sense, Stephanie?
Yeah.
When
Just
you,
with your lady,
what's that?
just like with your experience you had yesterday, she let you know.
Well, the issue that I have, my lesson is all around integrity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And basically what she said was, you know, I have no integrity, that I'm a, I actually said, do you mean to say that you feel like I did a bait and switch on you? She said, yes. Which is not me.
No, it's not.
Period. End of conversation, right?
Yeah. So you have a choice to not receive that, right? I mean, I'm asking.
Yes. And I also have a choice to step into my integrity and address it in a manner where I take full responsibility for the fact that that got created. Somehow I missed something. Somehow I participated in the creation of that. Would you agree? I was in the
I
conversation.
don't want to agree, but yes, I agree.
Well, now, mind you, I'm speaking from a very a place of spiritual responsibility to having integrity in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to come back in and clean that up. For me,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't send her anything to convince her that she was incorrect. I sent an email of full apology this morning and an offer of amends.
So when you say email a full apology, because you and I kind of do the same thing. Now, I've never had that happen to me before either, but I want to learn from, I mean, we're talking about
From
it.
me
There's
getting my ass kicked.
yeah. Thank you for taking that on and allowing me to share that with you. Okay. So when you say that you apologized for your actions, what does that look like? Do you
That
feel?
looks like the email. I don't have it right in front of me, but it went something like this. Let's say it was you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What I said is, Stephanie, after our conversation yesterday, I was extremely sad. There is no way, no possibility that I was attempting to do a bait and switch. That is not me. And I want to be unequivocally clear about that. I accept full responsibility for that conversation having taken place. And I have sat with that for a number of hours since our call. I want you to know how sorry I am that that occurred. It has never happened before, and it will never happen again. I accept full responsibility for that. And I just want you to know how deeply sorry I am that it occurred, and I'm offering you a sincere apology. That's it. Like she had nothing to do with it.
Right. So you didn't say anything. I'm sorry. You felt that way. Nothing. That it occurred. So I like that.
Yeah, it did occur.
There's no blame on any. There's no blame or anything. It just.
I
It
accepted. I didn't point my fingers.
Yeah.
I didn't say this is the way I do it, and what you didn't understand was blah 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 blah.
Yeah. There was
Right?
no you or anything in that.
I took full
Yeah.
responsibility so I could step out of the victim mode.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that with me. That cleared up a lot.
And I even went further than that and said, as an amends to you, I would like to take you through an empowerment consultation, absolutely free, no obligation. It will give you a lot of clarity with these struggles that you have. And if you choose to take me up on that, please let me know and we'll set a time. And I look forward to being of service to you in that way. That's it.
Okay. That's awesome.
I just stood right up and opened up and said, I accept full responsibility.
So how do you feel now? I'm just curious.
I feel even better as I speak of it because that's what happened. But there's part of me, I just about felt sick to my stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is because that used to be me. My lesson is around integrity,
Yeah.
you know, and if I don't stand up to the integrity that I'm supposed to have, I'm in trouble. And that all comes from my life lessons that, you know, how he came up with these, I don't know. But boy, they're uncannily accurate.
Yeah.
So we came to the agreement that there's nothing rational about being not good enough, this human condition that's not relevant and free floating. And attempted to establish a foundation of what's going on. And the fact of the matter is, we don't know. We literally don't know what's going on. We have no control over our future. We're here for what will be just this little blip of time. We don't know when that's going to end. There's a beginning and end to our life. And the whole purpose is to share love and be of service in the present moment. That's the best we got. Agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, again, you've both heard me say this many times. Ultimately, I would describe myself as an awareness coach, which wouldn't make sense to anybody. It's awareness at a very high level, and it's the integration of the non-physical into the physical.
I would say you're doing that very well with me.
Yeah,
So thank
do
you.
it. I do it very well with everyone.
Yeah,
Like,
thank you.
and the other thing, David, before we wrap up, we have 2 minutes left, and I've got to get to another call. But David, I really want you to get this.
Thank you.
If I can remember what it was I was just going to say. It was something about, notice the difference in how you feel bringing, when you're focused on your heart supporting your intellect. It will put you in a position where you can have I can have a conversation about anything based on vibration. Anything. I cannot have a conversation about anything based on the physical and logic. It will be an argument. It will be a debate.
Mm.
It's based on right and wrong. A massive difference between those two. You see that, Stephanie?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When you're in your head, and like this woman was in her head attacking me, and I just apologized. I stated who I was unequivocally, and I still hold myself to that with her or anybody else. This, in the work that I do you know what would happen energetically if I was doing bait and switch?
You would not be doing this anymore. You
Well,
would have to
I'd end up being out shooting heroin or something. I
yeah.
mean, it would be spiritually, the karma on that would be horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
Great call today. What's one thing you got, Stephanie?
Oh my gosh. One thing I got seriously is just perfection. You know, leave it in the physical. I mean, I'm not leave it, but be in the non-physical, and there you know, the perfection will be what it is.
Let the physical be what it is.
Yeah, it
And
is.
know
what
that
it
you're
is in the
enough.
moment. Yep.
And in this moment, you are good enough.
Yeah.
And you are desiring to learn more. Consequently, you're going to run into things that create challenges.
Yep.
How about you, David?
You know, a strong thing for me is that I'll only ever feel safe by focusing on the feeling of feeling safe.
Wow, David, for you, in importance on a scale of 1 to 10, that's a 20. Would you agree with that?
Probably, yes.
That's probably the thing that has kept you from being in your heart, that understanding. That in order to create feeling safe, you have to feel, because of your desire and natural instinct to be intellectual, which is part of you.
Yes.
Most people, I say, stay out of your head. You're a blend of that. That's where your brilliance comes from. You know, it's deep logical thought combined with metaphysical wisdom. But that for you, you you have a sign behind you that says to focus, and up on your,
yes,
and I would change that to create safe feelings. That will allow you to focus.
Yes.
That will be the foundation of focus. Another fantastic call. Wow. I love you both.
Love you.
And we will be, I'll get back to you with the dates for March. March already. It's going to get warmer.
Amazing.
Hip, hip, hooray. Create a special day for yourselves.
And you, Bill.
Yeah, great call. Great feedback, great information, great teachings. We're very fortunate. Very fortunate. Namaste.
Namaste.
We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.